No sweat. I mean, like pick it up, like center it a little bit towards. Yeah, about right there. The water. All right, bear with me 1 second, Israel. Bear with me 1 second. I'll get with y'all in a minute. All right, Shalom, Israel, Yahweh, Bashim, Shabbat, Thumb, Yahweh, Shema, Thumb, Bashim, Yahweh, I'm Precinct Officer Yediah, Officer 5000. You know what I mean? 12 Shield, General Mahayaman will be here. Hold it down till the General get here. Make sure you type your questions into the chat. Type your questions into the chat, you know what I mean? So when the General get here, I can read your questions in order. All right. Now, if I could, Black, Latino, and First Nation man and woman, we got to come out of this world, man. Now is the time for us to stop playing around and realize that the I.S.U.P.K. under Commander General YAHANNA is the home of the truth. And we've been teaching this truth that the Blacks, Latinos, and First Nation men and women are the ethnic Jews, the Israelites of antiquity. And it's time for us to come back to our identity. If I could, Officer Ibahaya, give me Romans chapter 13 and verse 11. Our people got to come out of that church, come out of that mosque. We got to stop believing, you know what I mean, in the oppressor, and stop believing, you know what I mean, that the oppressor and these other nations have our benefit at mind. They do not. They cannot stand us. We have to understand, you know what I mean, that it's time for us to come back and realize who we really are and what we need to do as God's chosen people. Read what you got, Romans 13 and 11.
This is the book of Romans 13 and verse 11.
Let's go.
In that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep.
Listen, it is high time to awake out of sleep. It's high time to awake out of sleep. You don't realize, man, we fast asleep right now. Fast asleep, believing in every silly and abominable thing I buy. Brothers and still, listen, we still got brothers and sisters in that Christian church. You still in that Muslim mosque. You still want to believe in, you know, being Pan-Africanist. The big thing now for our people is, for brothers, you know what I mean, particularly the tribe of Judah, you want to be a foundational Black American. Where you want to hate on the tribe, you want to hate on the Mexican, the Puerto Rican, the Guatemalan, and other Israelites, other Latinos and Native Indians, but you love the oppressor. You miss me with that nonsense, man. The oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Right. El hombre blanco es el diablo. And you're not going to get reparations from this oppressor believing that you're a foundational Black American, thinking that that's going to help you. It's not. It's not. Like the scripture says in Lamentations, you know what I mean? Hold that too, I buy. You know what I want forward, 16, 17. But we have to realize, man, for our salvation is near. It says in Romans 13 and 11, and that knowing the time that it's high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than what we believe. Our salvation is near, man. It's right around the corner. World War III is getting ready to kick off. They're trying to distract you with all the other nonsense going on in Esau's world right now. We can't pay attention to that. Listen, Russia and the Ukraine is still going at it. Who shiesty is still bombing the Ukraine to smithereens. Iran just launched missiles at Israel, man. Dropped bombs on them. I guess that Iron Dome couldn't save them again from y'all. World War III is right here. It's coming. It's right down the street, right down the block. We don't have time to be lackadaisical. We don't have time to be indecisive. Now is the time to come back to our true identity and realize, man, that we have no benefit in being a so-called American. You have no benefit, you know what I mean, in trying to still participate in Esau's society and live like him. The scripture says in Proverbs 3:31 to envy thou not the oppressor and choose none of his ways. We ain't supposed to choose no way of the oppressor. No way. Because it's not going to help us. You're looking at how the oppressor lives his life, how he's being a sexual deviant. Because you had Hugh Hefner, now you got P. Diddy. Because you got Weinstein, then you get Bill. That's how you get the Bill Cosby's of the world. You trying to follow after the oppressor, and you can't live like that. Donald Trump could be a felon, I buy. Could be a felon and still run for president. Brother, you can't be a felon, you know what I mean, let alone get a job at McDonald's. The rules ain't the same. You can't be a sexual deviant because the Lord said not to. You think you could be like Donald Trump, but you could be like Vince McMahon and Hugh Hefner? You can't live that lifestyle, Black, Latino, First Nation man and woman, because the Lord will surely punish you. Same way on how Puffy being punished right now. You can't live like that. Read Lamentations chapter 4 and verse 17.
This is the book of Lamentations, chapter 4 and verse 17.
Go ahead.
As for us, our eyes has yet failed for our vain help.
Our eyes has failed for our vain help because we put our trust in Trump, we put our trust in Kamala, we put our trust in the oppressor and these heathens. Let me give you a fine example of us putting our trust in them and why it's vain. They put aside billions of dollars for Israel, for the Israelis, who is Amalek, who is the devil that the Bible speaks of. They put money, billions of dollars aside for the Ukraine, billions, my thumb yard. Let me ask a serious question. How much money do you think they're dishing out to the poor Blacks and Latinos that are suffering from the hurricane that just hit and the one that's going to hit? $750. $750. The Ukrainians can get a couple billion. The oppressor over there calling himself a Jew, he can get a couple billion annually. You, Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman, the children of Israel, $750. Our eyes has yet failed us for our vain help. Putting your trust in Kamala Harris, thinking it's going to do something. Putting your trust in Joe Biden, putting your trust in Donald Trump, putting your trust in the oppressor is asinine in itself, Mahayaman.
Right.
And look what your reward is, $750. That is insane.
Right.
And you shouldn't be surprised. Scripture says, read it again, I buy from the top.
Okay. This is the book of Lamentations, the 4 verse 17. As for us, our eyes has yet failed for our vain help.
Our eyes has failed us for our vain help. Keep going.
And in our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us.
We have watched for a nation that could not save us. You looking for the oppressor to save us? They're not going to save us. You don't realize, man, they're the ones that are doing the damage.
Right.
They're the one that's doing the unaliving, all of the abuse. Like Black, Latino, First Nation man and woman, like we read in Romans 13:11, we got to wake up and come out of sleep. We living in some type of fairy tale world thinking, oh, that we can make it and succeed in American society. No, it wasn't meant for us to succeed. It was never meant for us to be comfortable here in the first place.
Right.
This place is not our rest. Also get Micah chapter 2 and verse 10. This ain't our rest, Black man and woman, Latino man and woman. How can we have it? How can we have it? This place ain't our rest. Stay where you at, I buy. Keep reading.
Verse 18, they hunt our steps.
They hunt our steps. I was listening to a clip of what Kazak Ahmad said on the Saturday show of Black Watch. When they try to say, you know what I mean, this new hurricane, I believe it's Milton saying it's, you know, it's going to be more devastating and more harmful than Katrina. Let me tell you something, man. What happened in Katrina was not only devastating, but diabolical in the hands of the oppressor, of all of the hunting they did on our people, all of the unaliving, all of the abuse that they put our brothers and sisters through, man. How they was unaliving us. You know what I mean? They didn't want us to cross the bridge. Wouldn't rescue sisters unless the sisters showed their breasts. Like the oppressor is truly the devil that the Bible speaks of.
Right.
They hunt our steps. We got to realize something, that the oppressor is the apex predator. Like our people think, you know what I mean? When you think about, you know what I mean, the predator, you think about that little monster from that movie. You know what I mean? The little alien in the suit with the dreadlocks. No, the oppressor is the real apex predator. He's the real predator. And you know what the prey is? We're the prey. We're the prey. But we have a defense. We have a defense in our God. Because we turned away from our God, now these things happen. That's why it is important to realize, man, how important this truth is. And then when we come back and get ourselves together and come back into this truth, man, ain't nothing the oppressor or any other nations can do to stand up against it. They're going to try, but they're going to fall. Right now, they can hunt our steps. George Floyd, Philando Castillo, Vanessa Gillian, you know what I mean? Breonna Taylor, Botham Shem Jones. Botham Shem Jones was in his crib. Breonna Taylor was in her crib. They hunt our steps, Reed.
That we cannot go in our streets.
We can't even go in the streets, let alone be in the house chilling. We can't do that. That's why we have to understand something. Now give me Micah chapter 2 and verse 10.
Okay.
This is something that we got to realize when it comes to this place. And why it's important not to trust our enemies. That's also in Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10. We never supposed to trust our, scripture says, never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. How iron will eventually rust, so is the wickedness of the oppressor. He's naturally wicked. He's wicked. He's naughty by nature, right, God? For real. That's the oppressor in his totality. You may not want to believe it, but he's a beast in real life. Allah Akbar, Barak. Yahweh Shariah Shabbat.
Got it up. You know, knock the water, hold it down for you. I appreciate it. Get it on. I'm going to answer your questions tonight. Give you Give you these breakdowns that were given unto me. Get you ready for the street, for the internet, for all of the battles you have in this upcoming week, all right? Whenever you're ready, let's get it on. Olvidé mi español, los anuncios. Lo siento, pardon. I think I remember it. Let's see. Help me out if I'm wrong, you die. 1 second. Nosotros somos la escuela israelita de conocimiento práctico universal. Comenzamos 1 Oeste Calle 125, Harlem, Nueva York, desde 1969, debajo del mando de General YAHANNA. Carnales, esta es la verdad. Si tú eres hombres, hispano, negro o indio nativo, tú eres Israel, el pueblo elegido de Dios. Tu madre y tu padre dicen que somos un culto y mantienen su iglesia sin culpa, pero su iglesia culpable. That's all I got. I don't know why I cannot remember that last part. Un momento. Pero su iglesia culpable de todo lo que nos están pasando. De todo lo que nos están pasando. Orale. All right, Akim, Akwafi, and I'll take your questions whenever you're ready.
This is from young man Jermaine.
All right, young man Jermaine. Let's have your question, warrior.
Sir. Young man Jermaine says, Shalom, Adonai. Can you break down Jude 1 and 9?
Of course I can. No problem, warrior. Jude 1 and 9. Someone also asked me a question last week. I remembered it in the car on the way over here. Forgot it again. I think it was about the carpenters in Zechariah, I believe. It might say carpenters or artisan, or maybe artisan is the translation. But if someone can, if you remember that, and if you need that breakdown, I think I remember it now. Okay, but you better catch me fast before I forget it. All right, let's get it on.
Oh God, Jude 1:9. Yet Michael the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses.
Let me just give you the context, young man, of what's happening here. This is the Apostle Paul trying to teach young men to watch their mouth when they're speaking to men of honor. So watch their mouths. That's the entire context of this breakdown. That's the breakdown that the Apostle Paul is giving his young warriors right here in the Bible. So he's using it. I appreciate you, warrior. Thumb you out. He's using this as an example, meaning even Michael, the archangel meaning he's a top angel among the host of angels in heaven, even he did not use a railing accusation against Satan when he debated with Satan or battled Satan over the bones of Moses. I'll explain. Moses never made it into the promised land. Moses didn't make the kingdom, which should be a lesson for all of us, especially a lesson for you purple pigs who believe that John the Baptist is the most great man of God ever and is guaranteed to make the kingdom of heaven. Even Moses didn't make the kingdom. He didn't make the kingdom. The kingdom of heaven is guaranteed to no man. You're going to have to work to get there, young warrior. Work to get there. And when I say get there, to get there where you want to be there. Of course, you could be last in the kingdom of heaven like John the Baptist is. But I assume if you want to make the kingdom, you want to get there in some power or authority, right? I assume that's what all this is about. Well, Moses did not make the kingdom because in the end, he failed. In the end, he disobeyed an order from God. And because of that, he never made it into the kingdom. He died before the Israelites came into the kingdom of their forefathers. So then, because he died, when they finally received the kingdom, Michael wanted to bring the bones of Moses into Israel and bury him in Holy Land, much like the Most High had Jacob's bones be carried from captivity into Israel so that he could be buried in holy ground. Michael wanted the same thing to happen for Moses, but he had to battle Satan over it because Satan wanted to remind the Most High about Moses's failings. And Michael wanted to remind the Most High about the good deeds that Moses did. So they were in a battle. Michael said, listen, let me bury his bones in Israel. Satan said, nah, he disobeyed you, Lord. Leave him outside of Israel. Leave him in the filthy earth where he is right now. They had a battle. In that battle, they battled each other with dignity and honor. Michael did not make a railing accusation against Satan. He watched his mouth when he was talking to Shaitan. Why can't you watch your mouth when you speak to Commanding General YAHANNA? You should. You should watch your effing mouth. When you comment on a video he's on, when you talk to him, you should watch your effing mouth. Why? Because there are men that love him. And there are men that will battle for him. I pray you understand. That's the point. If you read down, it will explain it. Keep going.
Durst not bring against him a railing accusation, but said the Lord rebuked thee.
That's what he said. That's what Michael said to Shaitan. He didn't make a railing accusation against Satan, but instead he said, the Most High is against you, man. The Lord rebuke you. That's what he said to Satan. He was professional with him, man. He was disciplined with him because he understood that Satan had power and rank under the Most High God to test men, to draw men to the wicked side so that they could never receive a righteous reward. He knew that this being had power. So instead he said, the Lord rebuke you, as opposed to just railing and going off on him. Continue.
Verse 10. But these speak evil of those things which they know not.
But these, they speak evil of things which they know not. Even Michael didn't do that against Satan. Keep going.
But what they know naturally, as brute beasts in those things, they corrupt themselves.
That's all they are. All they know is what they know naturally. What does that mean naturally? Carnally. That's all you know. All you know is what you can stick your penis in or eat. That's it. You know nothing else. You don't understand anything spiritual at all because you're like a moose or a dog or a cat or a bull, a brute beast. A brute beast is an ox or a field animal, an animal whose only use is their strength, their physical strength. That's why they're brutes. A cow is a brute, a bull is a brute, an ox is a brute. It's just a big muscle-bound thing that just drags a plow. It can't understand restraint, dignity, honor, discipline. It can't understand those things. It's a brute beast. Read the next word. After beast. After beast. Keep going.
Those things that corrupt themselves.
In those things that corrupt themselves. In the natural things that they understand, they corrupt themselves because they only understand what is carnal, what you can stick your penis in or rub your vagina on or put into your mouth. That's all they understand. And in those carnal things that they do understand, all they do is make themselves more wicked, more evil. Like that's people who would speak against dignities. It would speak against a dignitary, which is how you would use that word today. A dignitary is a man of honor and of high regard, of high rank. Men like Commanding General YAHANNA, who's better than your fake Israelite group leader, who's better than your preacher and your pastor, and whoever you think is some man you should listen to, who is really the secret molester, the secret abuser of your child. Is there anything else? Gracias. Próximo.
Sir. This is from Dorm Israelite Salaki. The student wants to know what scripture can you use to prove when Christ was born?
What scripture can you use? This you can prove the season that Christ was born in the book of Matthew, when the Bible says that there was no room in the inn, for it was the time of taxing. The time of taxing in the Roman Empire was around April, just like it is today. The reason that it was around April is because that was the time when farms brought in their calves and their sheep. This is not about gardening. This is about the farming industry. The farming industry, they make sure that their sheep give birth to calves at the same time every year. They engineer it by only allowing them to be around male sheep at a certain time, I think 3 or 4 months before springtime. In doing so, they can make sure that all of their animals give birth at the same time. So because of that, the Romans sent tax collectors to receive taxes in the spring, which is why tax time is in the spring right now in America, for the same tradition that they had in Rome. That's the reason there was no room in the inn, right? Also, another precept that you can use to prove what time he was born is because he was born around the time of the Passover. The Passover is in the springtime. That's also in the New Testament, I believe, in the book of Matthew or Luke. Is it Matthew? That he was born around the time of the springtime. The springtime, of course, is around that April time, all right? So you know from the Bible the season he was born in. You know why there were so many people in Jerusalem at that time. It was Passover season. It was the time of taxing. Everyone was there. Everyone was piled into that city. And that's when Jesus Christ was born. You, of course, do not know what day he was born on because Israelites do not celebrate birthdays. So there is no record of the day, but you do have a record in the Bible of the season that he was born in. And I just quoted those precepts for you just now. Próximo.
Precept was in Luke 2 and 1 or 2.
Go out of Luke 2 and 1 to 2, please.
Next question is from Justice. He said, can you join the school while in the chain gang?
Can you, I don't know what a chain gang even is, Justice. Oh, prison, Salaki. Absolutely. The Israelite School of I.S.U.P.K, virtually all of us come from prison anyway. Those of us that don't come from prison, we come from colleges or universities or regular jobs. But of course, brothers in the Israelite School of UPK come from all walks of life, and prison is regrettably one walk of life here in this hell that we're all living in. We have a prison program in the Israelite School of UPK. You go on our website or on social media or talk to the brothers who you contact periodically, and they can put you in contact with our prison department. We have a thriving prison department from us reaching out to brothers and helping brothers and sisters who are part of the prison population in America, the vast and growing prison population in America. Próximo.
This is from Troy Smith. Shalom, gentlemen. I may ask with your grace, is sending my child to a Christian school the same as going to a Christian church?
No. Sending your child to a thwart for the question, warrior. I'm humbled that you would even ask me. Sending your child to a Christian school, Muslims can send their children to Catholic schools. That happens all the time. You'll go to a Catholic school and you'll see Muslims in the Catholic school, right? It's not a religious choice when you send your child to a religious school. It's a choice of a parent that is attempting to give their child a better life. That's all it is. But you can go to Christian school and not participate in any religious aspect at all of the school. You can be in a Catholic school, a Christian school, and just tell the teacher, my child is not participating in any of this idol worship in here, none of this Mary worship, none of this Holy Ghost, and don't fondle or diddle my child either while he's in here. Leave that for the Christian children. But my child is one West. So just let my child come in here and learn some of that excellent education that you keep touting about, that you have in these private schools. Private schools, in many cases, are a far better choice than what's provided to you in public schools. Alexa, what are the top 10 worst schools in America?
I don't have an answer for that.
Oh, you can find that. I used to know it. There's some in Ohio and a lot in Los Angeles and Gary, Indiana. It's like the worst school system in America. A few in California. I forget, but someone can look it up. The worst school systems in America. Okay, sending your child to a public school in some cases can be a great risk that a lot of parents do not want to risk with their child. And so now, does that mean that sending your child to a Christian school will mean they have a magical life? No, it does not. The same destruction that happens to your child in a public school can happen to your child in a private school. But a parent in many cases is just trying to give their child a better chance. And so they're trying. That's why you move out of your neighborhood that you live in. You look at your neighborhood and you see, this is a terrible neighborhood. Now I can't put my child in Beverly Hills, but maybe I can live in a better place so that my child can have a better chance. It's not magic. It's not a guarantee of success, but a parent wants to try. And that effort is honorable. So if you whatever resources you have available to you to send your child to the best school you can, it is no sin for you to exercise that opportunity. Próximo. Please.
So a few states. Mississippi, Oregon, Oklahoma.
Mississippi, woof.
Alabama.
You're the same old culprits. Mississippi, horrible schools. Just so you know, that those are not the white schools in Mississippi, right? But the black schools in Mississippi are absolutely terrible to go to. Mississippi, you die.
New Mexico, dead last.
New Mexico, dead last. It's terrible, man. So once again, you don't want your children, you don't want to lose your child because you're sending them out to get an education. I always see parents, man, it breaks my heart to see a parent that gets arrested and loses their child, or worse, the child is unalive because the parent left the child in the car while they had to go to work. And that's a terrible thing to do, and you should never do that. But if you're a member of the I.S.U.P.K, you don't have to do that because you have people that love you. So you don't have to leave your child in a car while you go to work to earn money to feed the child. But in this place, so many parents don't feel they have a choice. So now the child is unalive because they're sitting in some hot car. because their parent cannot take a day off, cannot miss a minute of slavery, or else they'll lose their job. And here's the sadness of it. If the parent loses the job and has no money and no place to live, then the city comes in and takes the child from you, right? Because you can't afford to feed your child or house your child. So then you in your distress will leave your child in a car. I go in a restaurant sometime and see a little child. You got it, Ward. You got it. I go in a restaurant sometime and see a child, painting on a coloring book in the restaurant. I'm sure you've seen that in the past, where you see a child just doing their homework, and I always look at that child and think, boy, that's a parent that is trying the best they can. They don't have it. They don't have anyone to watch this child. They don't have any other way. They can't lose this job. You lose the job, you lose your child in many cases. You lose your place to live. And so they're doing the best they can. Should the child be at work? No. If only I could implore upon you to come into this family. In this family, you don't suffer alone. In this family, you don't strive against the wind, fight against the air, rail against moonlight, things that you cannot fight alone. You don't do that in here. Everyone understands, please.
Is it unlawful to send our children to a military academy?
You can send that child wherever the hell you want to send that child to save that child's life. You just have to give that child certain rules. Ask the school. You sit down and you talk to the teacher. You talk to the principal, and you say, "Listen, I believe in the Hebrew, what you would call the Hebrew Israelite faith. I'm from the Israelite school of UPK, but I would like my child to go to this school because it's a better school than the one provided for him free." And then you talk to them. This particular military school might say no. If he comes in here, he has to, sign a law that he loves America and sign up for, military service. Something, I don't know. You just talk to the people in the school. What you want to do is explore your options. You don't have every option. You get my point? You might not have the money to put him in that school, the military school. But you, as a parent, you want to sit back and go, okay, what can I do with this child to give them a chance? I have public school, Catholic school, military school. I got these options. I'm going to explore them. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to go down and speak to people to see where can my child keep his dignity, his conduct, where can he be lawful unto God, but at the same time, I can put him in a safer environment. And the Most High will provide that for you. And of course, you're in the Israelite school of UPK, so you have people that can help you with that decision. What else did you want to say? You understand. No problem. No, Most High in Christ. All right, próximo.
Common sir. This is from Officer Kushal. He says, Salakia General, can I get a breakdown of 2 Peter 3 and 16 to 18?
No problem, warrior. Whenever you're ready. Some of y'all see me one more time, please. Go on.
Book of 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 16. As also in his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures.
I might need some context, Doc. Hold on. Where are we at?
2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 16.
2 Peter 3. Stand by. 2 Peter 3 and 16.
2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 16 to 18.
No sweat. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, you want to read 15.
Khan, 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 15.
Let's start at 14, all right?
Khan.
Go ahead.
What 2 Peter 3 and 14. Therefore, beloved, seeing that ye look for such things.
The such things that his beloved looked for is the kingdom of heaven and the destruction of their enemies. This is something that the prophets of God wanted in the Old Testament. The thing that the slaves wanted all throughout history. This is the same thing that the apostles wanted in the New Testament. I'll show you. Read 12, I believe.
Verse 12. Looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of God.
Keep going.
Wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved.
Wherein what? Looking for a coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved. That is what the disciples of Christ wanted. They wanted the day to come when the heavens were on fire and they would melt away. That's the New Testament. That's not the Old Testament. That's what the disciples of Christ wanted. They wanted the sky to be on fire. They wanted the heavens to be on fire. Why? Because in doing so, their enemy who is in heaven, who is in the sky, their enemy would melt and burn. That's the New Testament. That's what the real disciples of Christ wanted. Everyone understands. So now skip down to 14.
Verse 14. Wherefore, beloved, seeing that ye look for such things.
Beloved, seeing that you look for the day when the sky is on fire, and when the sky burns and melts away, keep going.
Be diligent.
Be what?
Be diligent.
Listen, if you want your enemy to fall, you're going to have to be diligent, man. This is a war. This is a war that has been waged for so long. So long, your fathers wanted to see this day. I think about the slaves out there gave up their lives under the lash and had their necks broken. Some woman rocked back and forth on their neck. You think about them and think about that same slave prayed to Jesus to help her. Prayed to Jesus to end the beating, to end the suffering, to end the forced starvation. They prayed to God for it. They thought rightfully that the only way their suffering would end is if the Lord that saved the Israelites in the Bible would come slave them. That's it. The Lord that saved the children of God as they were in bondage and captivity would come and save them. They knew that was their only hope. That's how long this fight has been going on. Well, if you want this fight to finally be won, you're going to have to be diligent on it. Guns and warfare will not win this battle. Being the best sharpshooter or the best kung fu artist or whatever thing you think, will win this battle, it's not won like that. Those things are for much smaller fights. Self-defense and protecting your home, that's what those things are for. But if you want to win this war, you do it with discipline, with diligence, and with kindness and love to one another. Continue.
That ye may be found of him in peace.
That's what he wants to find. That you may be found of him in peace. That he might come back and see that there is a body of people who love each other. Then the Most High will burn your enemies in the sky. Continue.
Without spot and blameless.
Without what?
Without spot and blameless.
That's how you win this battle. That's how the slave finally gets their justice that they died without getting. The babies finally get their justice that they never thought they would receive because you decided to be perfect. That's what spotless and without blemish means, young brothers and sisters. You decide, I'm going to be perfect. That's that. I'm going to stop allowing myself imperfection as taught to me by my slave master. It's a funny thing, don't you think, Yediah? That the same people that believed that black people were shiftless, lazy, and incompetent by nature also gave you a religion that allows for imperfection. And then you grow up thinking, well, nobody can keep the whole law. No one can keep every word of God. We can't keep the law. I'm not surprised you said that, because the slave master thought you couldn't be a quarterback. That's what the slave master thought about you. He thought there was no way that a black man could be a quarterback. He thought there was no way a black man could be a basketball player. He thought there was no way a black man could be a doctor. He thought there was no way a black man could fight in a war. But I've been doing research lately, brother, on the Harlem Hellfighters. Give Harlem a hand out at the headquarters, man. Oh my God. It was some cat, now I believe his name was James Henry or Henry Johnson. These brothers were given the task to defend some trench while the white soldiers could escape, and they were leaving. And so they told these black soldiers to stay in this ditch so that the white soldiers could leave, which was every job that a black soldier had. It was the dirtiest, filthiest, or the most suicidal job, because they were cannon fodder. They were infantry. The word infantry comes from the term of putting children in the front of warfare. So they called them infantry because they were so young, and they used to just sacrifice children in war. And because of it, that's where the term infantry comes from. Well, that's what black men were. They would just throw them in the front of enemy lines so that they could all be wiped out, but the important soldiers got to get away. Well, that happened. And these they later became to be known the Harlem Hellfighters. You can look up in your phone and get their actual name. But brother, they went and so many of them died. And they went and fought hundreds. It was 35 of them. And they fought hundreds of German soldiers. Then finally, it was one cat. He shoots everybody. He has no more bullets. Then finally, he just starts to kill them with the bayonet that's attached to his rifle. Then the bayonet breaks. So after the bayonet breaks, he takes a knife out and keeps unaliving them. Then he picks up their weapons, and he just keeps unaliving German soldiers, and he won. He unalived all of them out, and the numbers of people he unalived was like amazing. That this cat did this with no gun. With no gun. In World War I, they thought black people were not smart enough to be soldiers. You understand? That man that did that, he did that at a time when they just knew you could never have enough discipline to be a soldier. And then men like the Harlem Hellfighters stepped up, and unalived 50 armed men with a knife. And they were armed. They had rifles. And it became so famous. And of course, we had black newspapers back then, and black newspapers told everyone about the Harlem Hellfighters. That was done at a time when they thought we were born incompetent, that we were not smart enough to actually be real soldiers. Those same people taught you that you could not keep the law. That there was no way you could give up pork. How can I give up pork? I can't give up pork. There's no way to keep the law. I'm too slow and incompetent and shiftless and lustful to ever keep God's commandments. I'm not surprised you Christians think that about yourself. The man that taught it to you thought that about you. Does everyone understand? You can be perfect, young brothers, young sisters. You can be perfect. You're not shiftless and dumb and incompetent. You're not so slow that all you are is a belly or a penis. That's where the belief that you couldn't even have black men around white women. Oh, never. Why? Because a black man was going to assault a white woman because he couldn't control himself around white women. He would have to sexually assault them. He couldn't control himself. They made a whole movie called Birth of a Nation that made the Ku Klux Klan the heroes of the movie because they protected white women from these lustful animals that didn't have the restraint not to assault a woman. I know that's what you think about yourself. I know that's what you think you are. In contrary, however, God thinks that you are the only people that can truly be perfect. The only people with enough intelligence and discipline to truly keep the law of God. You die.
I was going to say, sir, what you bring out is so heavy. It reminded me of this brother, George Miller, that during World War II in Pearl Harbor, he never picked up an anti-carrier.
First time.
First time. Shot down 6 Japanese planes.
Wasn't trained in it. Was a cook. He was a cook. He made big pots of rice. That was his job in the military. But when the Japanese bombed his ship and it was on fire and everybody else was running, he just went over to the big gun on the deck and had never shot it before and went and shot down enemy planes. When he did that, they thought that black men did not have the intelligence to fight in a war. They thought they could only be cooks, only be ditch diggers. That's the type of people that you learn your religion from. So, of course, when you see Commanding General YAHANNA and we're telling you, keep the commandments, what's the first thing that comes to your brain? Ain't nobody keep all them laws. No one can do that. That's impossible. We can't do anything like that. Don't sell yourself short, blacks and Hispanics. You'd be surprised what you could do when put to the test. You'd be very surprised. Please, Solomon. I can't be perfect. I can't do all of that. That's impossible. I think it is possible. I think the Most High God requires it. Everyone understands. I believe I broke that down for the brother. That's what this whole thing is about right there. All right. The whole thing is about that. Did he want more? Or no, you died.
I don't think he was paying attention.
All right. Well, good to go. He say again?
I don't think he was paying attention.
Is it because he asked it again? Tell him, just be specific. It must be some line in there that he's confused about. What's his name? Justice? Okay, whatever your name is, brother, if there's some specific point in this precept, just tell your die. I'll try to help you out.
16 to 18.
2:18. Where are we at now?
We were at 15.
Okay, go to 16 then.
As also in all his epistles, speaking of them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood.
Yeah, he's talking about the Apostle Paul, who would write epistles. An epistle is a letter, a handwritten letter. Paul was in prison and he sent letters to all of the schools that the Most High gave him in his command. And what they're saying is that these letters of Paul, some things in these letters are hard to understand. Some things that Paul is telling you to do, you don't quite understand. So with the teachings of the Israelite school of UPK. Some of the things we say you don't get. You don't quite understand it because it's so different from how you were raised. Some of it scares you. It makes you afraid. Some of you call us we're in a cult and we're crazy, just simply because your bias and your intolerance is actually scaring you. That's all. It's actually scaring you. But if you could get by your intolerance and your bias, then maybe you could understand what we're saying. Maybe you could understand what the Bible is saying. All right? Keep going.
Which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures unto their own destruction.
Let me pause you right there. Which they that are unlearned and unstable. What does the word unstable mean? Unstable is talking about your mental state. If you have an unstable mind, then you're not going to understand these things. If you're unlearned, you're not going to understand what Paul was saying. And because of that, you rest with these things. What is rest speaking about? Spell rest.
W-R-E-S-T.
This rest is from the root word for wrestling, to wrestle with something. It's not R-E-S-T, it's W-R-E-S-T, which is wrestle, which means you fight what's in these letters because you are ignorant. That's the point. You're ignorant and your mind is unstable. You cannot understand the word of God with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and with a discipline problem and with oppositional defiance disorder and with OCD and with pinned up aggression and unwarranted aggression. You can't understand God's word. You're not right in the mind. You're going to have to get right in your mind to understand the Bible. That's the point. And because you don't understand the Bible, because your life is one trauma after another, because your mother was so broken that she broke her children, because your father was so broken, or the foster care system was so broken that it broke you, now you are fighting the word of God. Now you're fighting the letters of Paul. You'll fight it. Captain Desire, y'all told me some fake Israelite group said, Paul, don't even read Paul's letters. That's what he told me. I said, what? He said, some fake Israelite group said, don't listen to Paul, don't read about, have y'all heard about this? I don't blame them. They're lunatics. You can't be a lunatic and understand the Bible. You can't. It's not, you think you can just do it, you know, but you really will never understand the Bible unless you work on your mental health. You will never understand it. Paul is saying it right here. Read it one more time for him.
Which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures.
Oh my God. Not only do they rest or wrestle with the letters of Paul, they wrestle with the entire Bible, with everything else in the Bible. It's not, you don't just hate Paul, you hate the Bible. The whole Bible is foreign and strange to you, and you don't get it, and because of that, it doesn't affect your life in a positive way, because you don't even understand it in the first place. Why? Because you're a lunatic. That's why. You're a lunatic. That's what drugs are for. Drugs are for people like you. It's marijuana, cocaine. Oh my God. That's an alcoholism. That's why you need those things. Because your mind is so sick. Your mind is tearing you up every day, and you need something to escape reality. Well, if you actually learn the Bible and fix your mental health, you could transform your reality. That's what we did in here. We stopped escaping our reality with alcoholism and drugs, and we begin to change our reality. Well, to do that, you're going to need the Bible. You're going to need to understand those words. I pray you understand. Is there anything else?
A little bit more, sir.
Go ahead.
Unto their own destruction.
I just broke that down. Go ahead.
Ye therefore, beloved, seeing ye know these things before, beware lest ye also being led away with the error of the wicked.
Listen, I taught you these things before, so be careful, or else you'll be led away. I told you it was a fake Israelite group that says it. Every fake Israelite group who believes in the 12 tribe sign left the UPK, left commanding General YAHANNA's authority. And now what are they doing? Now they don't believe in Paul. Now they're eating bacon. Now they're eating, pork. Now they're worshiping the color purple. Can you believe that? Pick a whole one color and just make your entire life about that color. And it's the most LGBT color in the world. They don't even know because they're lunatics, because they don't work on their mental health, because they didn't fight the LGBT urges in their mind. They decided to just form an Israelite group. They need mental help. They need help with their tragedies and their sexual traumas. Before you can go be an Israelite teacher, you're going to need some help with that problem because you're a lunatic. That's the point of all of this, all right? Young brother, that's the breakdown, all right? If you have any questions, please, don't hesitate to ask. Próximo.
Sir. Sir, this is from AWOL. He said, is it possible that these precepts are against celebrating birthdays, Job 1:4-5 and Mark 6:21, simply because of the type of person Herod was? The water figure time.
Yeah, I believe I know these ones. I believe he's correct. You can read one of them. But Herod was, of course, an oppressor whose mother was an Israelite, and the wicked Pharisee and Sadducee put him over Israel as their king. He, of course, is the one that unalived Christ until he was risen from the dead. You can read one precept and then I'll move on, all right?
Book of Mark, chapter 6 and verse 21. And when a convenient day was come, that Herod on his birthday made a supper to his lord's high captain.
That's a perfect precept. That's it. You top that up. A little tonic water, please. And ice, please. Yeah, you can use those. Both of those precepts you can use. I'll move on. You good to go, warrior. You were absolutely correct about birthdays, all right? Herod celebrated his birthday, and you know what type of person he was. All right? Perfect. Wouldn't that be so simple, Yediah? If you could look at the people who celebrate Christmas, you might realize you should not celebrate Christmas, right? If you could just say, well, I'm in the same religion as the Ku Klux Klan. I shouldn't be in the same religion as the Ku Klux Klan, right? So if the Ku Klux Klan is in this religion, then I should not be in this religion. Wouldn't it be so simple if you could just make that deduction? If you could just say, well, I can't be in a group that he's in. You understand? If he's Christian, if he's burning a cross in my front yard, if he loves Jesus, I can't love the Jesus he loves. I can't be with him because he is a racist and hates me and has enslaved me. You know, you die.
If I could, sir, what you're saying is so heavy, girl, is that when I think about Thanksgiving, I think about like they've been celebrating that since what, the 1500s?
Forget about it.
And while they're doing that, you know what I mean, raping and destroying our First Nation brothers and sisters,
Mm-hmm.
then they would turn around and have a whole sale on us and call it Black Friday.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's just, you know, listen, what can you do? At one time, these people controlled your minds because they controlled your bodies, right? They control whether you live or die, whether you ate food or starved to death. But our king is coming back. You see the wars in the Middle East. You see what's happening right now in the Middle East. Christ is coming back. Christ is coming back sooner than you think. It would behoove you to get your mind together. It'd be a good idea. Anything else?
We had a follow-up, sir. He said, with no children celebrating birthdays.
Yeah, that precept is correct. Yes, that's correct. Don't celebrate birthdays. It's a sin. All right, it's a sin. You're not helping your child. You're helping yourself. It's for you. I'm talking to parents. You grown-up men that love birthdays, you just never grew up. That's all. You just never grew up. You had no reason to grow up. You had a society that wants you to stay a little boy forever. And here you learn to grow up, all right? Santa Claus is not real, all right? It's none of those things. Easter Bunny either. None of those things are real. You're going to have to grow up. It's time to grow up, all right? The Tooth Fairy, you know, is not real either. You're going to have to grow up. It's time. Anything else? If Yashikar, you out there, text me how I can say, is there anything else in Espanol? I'm going to guess it's quienes. Let's see if it starts with Q. Am I wrong, you die? Quienes? I don't know. Yashikar will text it to me in a second. If he can, all right? If he's available. Go ahead, Warrior.
This is from Yaquatazar. He says, sir, can I get a general breakdown of Acts chapter 2 and verse 30, both for sure?
No problem, Warrior. I'm ready.
This is the book of Acts chapter 2 verse 30. Therefore, being a prophet and knowing that God has sworn with an oath to him that all the fruit of his loins according to the flesh.
Where is this?
Acts chapter 2.
Give me the hymn. Is the hymn David? You read above it?
All right. Book of Acts chapter 2 verse 29.
Okay.
Men and brethren, let us freely speak unto you of the patriarch David.
Of who?
Of the patriarch David.
This is proving the legitimacy of Jesus Christ to be king over Israel. That's what this is about. And these are things that the disciples had to do because they were among the Jews, meaning the Israelites who were raised up believing that they knew the law. So he had to show them in the law that Jesus Christ was the legitimate king over Israel, regardless of who was sitting on the throne in Jerusalem. Herod was on the throne, but he was an illegitimate king because the true king of Israel was the son of a carpenter in the ghetto. That was the real king of Israel. And this is the argument. This is the argument that the disciples were making, proving the legitimacy of his throne. Keep going.
That he is both dead and buried.
He is both dead and buried, meaning David is dead and buried. He's gone. Keep going.
And his sepulchre is with us unto this day.
His sepulchre, meaning his grave site, meaning we know that David is buried right there. So we know David is dead. Keep going.
Verse 30. Therefore, being a prophet and knowing that God has sworn with an oath to him that of the fruit of his loins, according to the flesh, he will raise up Christ.
Meaning what? David, the Most High God made an oath to David. He made a promise to David that David's seed would rule. But then David died. So David cannot be in charge anymore. There's his coffin. There's his grave site right there. But the Most High is still going to keep his word. So how did he keep the word that he gave to David? By passing the throne to his son. By passing the throne to his children. That's how the Most High God kept his word that he gave to David. Keep going.
To sit on his throne.
Keep going. Is there more? Was that his question? The precept you need for that is what made Jesus Christ a legitimate king of Israel? I believe you need Luke. Where does it say Joseph, the father of Jesus? I think it's Luke 2 or Luke 1. Joseph was the heir to Solomon's throne. Solomon was the heir to King David's throne. Joseph was the firstborn son at the time that he was born of the kingdom of David. Come on.
All right,
John 1:45. The one in Luke, I think, is the one I go to on the street. But I can't recall, but I'll take what you have.
John
Go ahead.
1:45. Philip findeth Nathanael and saith unto him, We have found him who Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph.
That's excellent. Jesus of Nazareth, the son of who?
Joseph,
The son of God.
the son of Joseph.
Why the son of Joseph? Why is he saying this? Because this precept is trying to prove that Christ is the legitimate king. Even though he's not sitting on the throne, a pretender to the throne was sitting on the throne in Jerusalem. His name was Herod. He was not the true king. He was the king the Romans chose. But the king of Jerusalem lived in a ghetto. His father was a carpenter. But that carpenter was the heir to Solomon's throne, Joseph. Now give me Luke. So we know from this that Jesus Christ is the son of Joseph. It's right there in the Bible. There it is. There's no way to misunderstand it. That's what it just said. Jesus Christ, the son of Joseph. Now give me Luke. Tell me who Joseph is. Go ahead.
Let's go to Luke 2, verse 4. And Joseph also went up from Galilee.
Here we go. Joseph went up from Galilee. Jesus Christ, they lived in Galilee, which is like a suburb of is it Jerusalem? I think a suburb of Jerusalem, somewhere. It's a fishing town. They lived in this fishing village. But Joseph went up from Galilee, meaning they left Galilee and went up to the city of David. Keep going.
Out of the city of Nazareth.
They left the city of Nazareth. Nazareth is a city inside a state called Galilee. They left Galilee, left the city of Nazareth, and went where? Go ahead.
Into Judea.
Into where?
Into Judea.
They went to Judea. Keep going.
Unto the city of David.
They went to the city of David. Joseph went to the city of David. Go ahead.
Which is called Bethlehem.
Which is called where?
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem. What's Bethlehem mean? What does Bethlehem mean? House of bread. Bethlehem in Hebrew is Bethlehem. Bethlehem, which means city or house of bread. House of bread. Bethlehem. Keep going.
Because he was of the house.
Because wait, slow that one down. Taste every syllable of that. Because what?
Because he was of the house and lineage of David.
That's how you know that Jesus Christ is the rightful king. Because Herod was not of the house and lineage of David, and the Most High God promised that David's seed would receive the throne of Israel. Jesus Christ was the son of Joseph in the book of Acts, and Joseph was of the house and lineage of David. Jesus Christ is the rightful king over Israel. He's the right king. He's the one who should be sitting on that throne, and he's the one that sits on it today because he earned it by work and by bloodline, which is the point that these prophets are making in the Bible. Everyone understands. All right, próximo. Preguntas.
He said it's alguna pregunta más.
¿Alguna pregunta más? You write that down. Alguna. Un momento. Alguna. What does that mean again? Is there any, what did I say? Y'all don't know what the hell I'm saying here, do you? Say again? Is there anything left? The water, sis, give her a hand. Is there anything else, I believe? Is that right? Is there anything else? Go ahead, Yashikar. Oh, snap. Sister, you better listen. You heard what Yashikar said. He know. What is it again, Yashikar? Sister, just check with Yashikar. There are different dialects of Spanish. I'm sure the sister is just speaking a different dialect. But I'll take Yashikar if it's okay, all right? One more time. I forgot the whole thing. How? H-A-Y. Oh, ha. Is it? I think that's how. But you spelling it H-A-Y, right? Ha, go ahead. Spell it. A-L-G-O. A-L-G-O. Mas. M-A-S. Ha-agulmas. How's he pronouncing that H-A-Y? Is it ha? Ha-agulma. Ha-agulmas. Are you saying how or say ha, right? Ha-agulmas. Gracias. Gracias, sacerdote. Sacerdote. Gracias. All right. Let's get it on. Próximo.
This is from Captain Cornwall. He says, Shalom, Lord Christ, my Lord. My apologies, this may not be on topic, but if it's possible, can I get a general breakdown on these two precepts? Ecclesiasticus 8 and 14 and Ecclesiasticus 7 and 10 to 11.
No problem, Capitan. If there is anything I can do for you, just please ask and I'll break it down right now, all right? Let's hear it.
God, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 8, verse 14. Go not to the law with a judge, for they will judge for him according to his honor.
I hear that. This is speaking about people that break the law of respecting persons. So it's saying, go not to law with a judge, for they will judge him according to his honor. Meaning, if you say, well, this judge, slept with my wife, the judge who's judging that case will go, well, he's a judge and you're not, so he must be telling the truth. You're a liar. Where does that happen at? In court. You go to court and you're saying this cop is lying, but the cop is sitting on the stand wearing what? A cop uniform. He's standing there with the whole vest on and the blue and the medals and everything and the sergeant stripes. He's standing there and you in there, you could barely afford a suit to come in there that day. You don't know how to tie a tie. The cop stands there in a cop uniform and the judge listens to him, who's a sworn police officer, and he listens to you. Well, he's going to choose to listen to the police officer because he will judge him based on his honor. He'll judge him based on the fact that he is a law enforcement officer and he won't even listen to you. Do you understand? He'll ignore you because he's a respecter of persons. People with power and money, they sway judgment to their favor. And that's what the Bible has always been warning us against. Always warning us against getting in a legal dispute with someone who has money and power, and the corrupt system will always hear them and ignore you. Everyone understands. Keep going. If there's more. Was there more to his question?
That was it.
Solid. Next. Go ahead. Please tell him.
Ecclesiasticus 8, verse 14.
No problem. Any questions in the room, just please don't hesitate to ask. All right. Anything else up?
The second one was Ecclesiasticus 7 and 10 to 11.
No problem.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 7, verse 10. Be not faint-hearted when thou makest thy prayer, and neglect not to give alms.
Yeah, be not faint-hearted when thou givest thy prayers. What is a prayer? A prayer is a request that you make to the Father, right? You're asking him for something. What does it mean to be faint-hearted? Who knows? What does it mean to be faint? How about that? The word faint means weak. A woman gets faint and she falls out because she fainted. She fell weak and now she passes out, right? To be faint-hearted means that you're getting weak in your mind. And because you're getting weak in your mind, you're losing something that is absolutely essential to life, something that is essential to survival. You're losing hope. Hope is essential. You can't lose hope. Right? You can't lose hope. Many people, because they've lost hope, they stop asking the Most High God to help them because they believe that he will not. They believe he will not hear them. They believe there is no one even listening. So what do? They handle the problem in their own mind. They go out and rob someone for money. They go out and commit fraud with a PPP loan because they believe there's no other way to solve this problem except for crime, which of course creates another problem. They believe that they can take the law in their own hands because they believe they will never receive justice from God. Don't be faint-hearted when you pray. Don't believe that these prayers will not go answered. Don't lose hope. Hope is a precious thing. And our oppressor, he has a system designed to make you quit, to make you give up hope. And everything in life is trying to steal your hope, your belief that you will get through this. That's why the suicide rates among men are just terrible. The numbers just grow. It wasn't one time that only our oppressor committed suicide the way they do, but now Black and Hispanic men are climbing in suicide rates. Climbing. That's why drug addiction is what it is. Drug addiction, brother, has a direct correlation to people who lose hope. You don't have any hope to change your situation, so you have to pacify yourself to just live in it. But if you could keep hoping, if you could keep believing, then you would pray the Father and he would grant it to you. He would do it for you. Don't get faint-hearted when you pray. That's the point. That's the breakdown. Is there anything else?
And neglect not to give alms.
And don't neglect to give alms, my God. How important is that? What is giving alms? Who knows what that is? Anyone online or in the class can explain that to me. I'll take it. Now, just remember the first part. Don't get faint-hearted when you pray, and don't neglect to give alms, sister. That's not what giving alms is. Praying is asking for help. That's what praying is. But what is giving alms, sister in the back? You walking down the road to it, sister. Give her a hand. Helping the needy and the poor. Helping the needy and the poor is giving alms. Right? Someone is poor, they're suffering, they're in need, and you give to them. Now, why is it saying don't get faint-hearted when you pray, and right after that, don't neglect to give alms? Why? Because what do you lose hope in? You lose hope in your ability to climb out of poverty. That is the perpetual destruction of the poor, not having any money, being suffering because you're just poor. And because you're so poor, you're willing to do anything to get out of poverty. And you don't believe that the belief in God can work when you're poor. Well, what else should you do when you're poor? Think about someone who's worse off than you. My God, like what a dynamic to live in. You're poor and you're suffering. And you go, even though I'm poor, I'm praying to the Most High God. I'm not going to commit a crime. I'm not going to rob somebody. I'm not going to commit some type of fraud. I'm not going to hurt someone because I need money. I'm going to know that if I keep praying and if I get up every day asking, Father, give us our daily bread, I'll make it through today. I'll get through today. And sooner or later, the Most High God will answer my prayer. And when he does, it will be like the pain never happened. At the same time, there's a brother or a sister over there who's worse than me. I'm going to be the one that answers their prayer. Don't you understand? If you're suffering in an apartment getting late notices and getting shut off notices in your apartment. And you're like, how am I going to pay these bills? And you believe you're going to give up hope, but you keep praying to God. That person living outside is praying too. I'm going to answer it. They're praying to God that someone would put $1 in their cup, that someone would give them a sandwich. I'm praying that my bills be paid. I'm praying that my cable doesn't get cut off or my phone doesn't get cut off. What is she praying for? Food today. She's praying every day. I know God hears her prayer. I'm going to be the one that feeds her. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the answer to someone's prayers, knowing that someone will be the answer to mine. Someone will answer mine. I'm not going to neglect to give to someone who's less fortunate than me, because I know I need someone to give to me. Love thy brother as thyself. Do you understand? If you could do that, if you could, in a time when you were suffering, if you could keep praying and then answer the prayers of someone suffering more than you, brothers and sisters, we're going to receive the kingdom of heaven, and our enemy is going to receive fire. That is what is going to happen. I pray you understand. Anything else?
Verse 11. Laugh no man to scorn in his bitterness of his soul.
Let me just practice this. Ha alagomas, ha alagomas. Laugh no one to scorn. What?
In the bitterness of his soul.
I'm not sure if that's how or that's hey. What is that? Say again. Hey sounds better, right? Hey alagomas. Hey doesn't sound right. Ask him to pronounce it for us. All right. Mm-hmm. Read it again. What is it? Hayalagomas. You die? Hi. Like I. Hayalagomas. All right. Does that H sound? Hayalagomas. Hayalagomas. All right. Gracias. Read it one more time.
Laugh no man to scorn in the bitterness of his soul.
Here we go now. All this is the same topic, brothers and sisters. Laugh no one to scorn in the bitterness of his soul. What is that speaking about? This is especially for the tribe of Judah, who loves to do this. The tribe of Judah loved, now maybe this goes on among other tribes and I just don't know about it, but the tribe of Judah loves to belittle people. They can't play cards without belittling each other. Brothers, I know you think that garbage you do when you play spades is very normal. Just don't do it around me, please. I can't handle your guttural communication. It just bothers me. It makes me want to look at my watch as I even think about it. Let me look at it real fast, just so I can cleanse your filth out of my mind. My train is late. I'm late for my train right now. You don't want to talk to each other like, a bunch of gutter rats. You can't play cards without belittling each other. What do you think? You're the king of the earth because you had a good hand of cards? I mean, the tribe of Judah, you just lose, you use anything to belittle someone who doesn't have that thing. What do you have? A good cards hand? And now what does that mean? He's a bitch. He's low down. He's disgusting. You got to laugh him to scorn, to the bitterness of his soul. Why? Because you play basketball better than him? What are you, in the NBA? Don't do that. Don't belittle one another. Don't think you have license to do it because you're playing some game. Give I.S.U.P.K. California a hand. I'm going to give them a hand right now, brother. I.S.U.P.K. California, I was talking to General Mayak about it. They had a softball game. And I'm with General Mayak, and I'm watching this game, brother. And they're playing this softball game. Captain Kwamwa'al, Captain Gadalhar, and the teammates that they had. They're playing this softball game with grace, with sportsmanship. It was honorable to see. Can you do something in life where you don't have to belittle each other as part of the entertainment to do it? You'd be surprised. You can do things like that. You can play a game with someone and say, well, no, you go. No, I fouled you. No, it's your ball. No, I'm wrong. You take that. What do you think you're playing for? Rulership of the planet Earth? What difference does it make? This is the difference it makes. You have a low self-esteem. You think very low of yourself. And you need something that you can say you're better than other people about. Because you're not better than anyone with anything. So what do you dress better than people. Your sneakers are better. Is that it? Oh, you have better sneakers than him. Well, that means that you have self-worth. That means you can forget about the things your mother said and the things your father said, and not growing up with a father and being hurt when you were a child. Why? Because your sneakers are better. You play spades better. You play basketball better. You do this better and that better. You find some tiny thing to give you self-esteem, but you cannot have that self-esteem without lowering his. Maybe you have no self-esteem at all. Maybe in hurting him, it lowers you, which is what this scripture is talking about. Learn to have grace. Learn to have some sportsmanship. Learn to be able to rejoice in the fact that you have honor in how you treat each other. Or else what's the point of playing a game or being with each other or doing anything with one another if you have to belittle each other to do it? Everyone understands. I pray you do. Read the precept again.
Go. Laugh no man to scorn in the bitterness of his soul. For there is one which humbleth and exalteth.
I pray you understand that. If not, you will. Like maybe I'll find some things that are wrong with you. Maybe I already know everything that's wrong with you and I don't talk about it. Maybe I'll start talking about it. Maybe I will. Próximo.
Go, sir. This is from username is I'm ready. It says shalom, sir. How about somebody talking with the club? Can I get a general breakdown of Revelation chapter 14 and verse 4?
Of course, warrior. No problem. Go ahead.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 4. These are they which were not defiled with woman, for they are virgins.
The woman that is speaking about is not physically actually women. This is the precept that the Catholic Church uses to force all of their men to never touch women. When it comes to touching boys, they're flexible with that. But this is the precept that they use to say that Catholic priests should never touch a woman. This precept. This is not speaking about women. This is a metaphor, all right? Never touching women is speaking about touching a whore. I'm wrong for saying that, correct, Yadai? Touching a promiscuous woman of ill repute, a woman of the evening, all right? That's what this is speaking about. That's why touching her makes them unclean, because this woman is a woman of the evening. Everybody understands? That's the metaphor. What is it actually talking about? Religion. It's talking about religion. That's why there was the sex worker that sat upon many waters. Can I say that word? You died? Yes, I don't know. A working girl that sat upon many waters. Right? And the nations came and partook of her. Right? It's a metaphor for saying people that join this religion defile themselves when they go into this religion. Do you understand? When they receive pleasure from this religion, they defile themselves by going into her. It's a metaphor for religion. These brothers, they don't go into her. They don't do that. They don't take the pleasure from being Christians. I don't know how many courtrooms I've had to sit in, I'm fine, warrior, where a brother in the UPK has to defend his religion in court with his baby's mother in a land that has the freedom of religion. Don't you know you could worship voodoo in America and no one could stop you? I think recently there was the voodoo religion. It's the month of voodoo. What is it called, you guys? I think it's this week, right? Because it's so-called Halloween. There's people out there that worship something called hoodoo, which is some type of Negro voodoo in Louisiana, and they teach the children voodoo. The children come up practitioners of voodoo. And child services does not take the child. No one calls child services. No one can do anything. Because if you want to worship voodoo in America and teach it to a kid, that is your right. Don't you know in America, they make little tiny baby Ku Klux Klan robes. Little one for a 2-year-old to wear. Guess what? Child services does not get involved. Because you can teach your child to wear a little tiny hood and white robe. You can teach your child to worship voodoo. You can teach your child any religion you want. Yet some baby's mother thinks it's valid in court to say you're in the UPK and to say you shouldn't see your child. Listen, read that precept again.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 4. These are they which were not defiled with women.
These brothers here, they are not defiled. They don't go into these religions to benefit from being in that religion. Oh, if you become Christian, think how strong a UPK child is that never celebrates Christmas, never celebrates a birthday. I think about it sometime. Like I wish when I was young, I had the truth. I wish I had the truth. That's one regret I've always had, is that I didn't meet Commanding General YAHANNA earlier. It didn't have an effect on my life when I was younger, because I can imagine the type of strength I would have had as a child, walking into school, knowing I'm the one kid that doesn't believe in Santa Claus in this school. I'm mature in the school. I'm the one child that isn't some sucker who believes in a tooth fairy in this school. How much power does that give you? Like, it gives you power over the whole school. Like, now to the whole school, you can talk to them. Your child could be dropping the truth on kids in school, telling them the truth. Before you know it, the whole school is like, that cat is smart. The teachers are going, he's so articulate. This kid is so articulate. This little girl is so smart. She's so mature. Instead, what is your kid? A little dummy like everybody else, waiting for his teeth to bring him money. We don't go into this woman. We're not defiled by her. Speaking about religions, it's a metaphor for religions, all right? Próximo.
This is from I.S.U.P.K. Shalom, y'all, Bashim, Shabbat. If I may, can I get a general breakdown of Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 8 through 11?
Please.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 8. Honor thy father and mother, both in word and deed.
How do you honor your father and mother in word and deed? This precept is speaking about taking care of your father and mother when you are strong and they are weak, when you are an adult and they are elderly. That's how you honor your father and mother, both in word and in deed. How do you honor them in word? That's my mother. I love my mother. I love my father. Plenty of people say that. Then your mother is sitting in a diaper for 2 weeks and you don't take care of her. She's living, in a tent somewhere in the mountains. She has no food. She's eating cat food. You know how many elderly people used to eat cat food? Look that up if you want to cry. How many elderly people would just eat cat food? Because, of course, they have no money. They have no way. They can't work. And so they will begin to eat cat food. You should Google that if you want to see why parents need to take the obligation to children need to have the obligation to take care of their parents. This is not speaking about, your child has to celebrate Christmas because you do. That's wrong. David said, in sin did my mother conceive me. In sin did she raise me up. You don't have to sin because your mother is a sinner. Does that mean because your mother smokes cigarettes, you should smoke? Well, then you shouldn't have to celebrate Christmas because your mother celebrates Christmas. Think about what else your mom does. This is how evil parents in the world are. Parents in the world tell a child to do a thing that they don't do. Tell a child to not do a thing that they do. Imagine telling a child, you don't need to be smoking. In your mouth, everywhere, secondhand smoke, all while you're growing up. But when the child sneaks into your purse and grabs a cigarette, what happens to you? You get beat damn near to death. Mom, I'm already smoking because I live with you. I'm breathing in secondhand smoke since I'm an infant. Think about how many parents smoke weed with an infant in the car. A baby is in the car. And they smoke weed with that baby in the back seat. So much so that if you get some car seats, I've done this, the car seat smells like weed. You grab the car seat and the car seat reeks of marijuana. Reeks of it. Which means that this parent smokes weed with the baby in the car. Your baby is high all the time. But the minute the baby goes into your weed stash, when they get about what age, 11? What's the age when you start doing that? When your parents smoke weed? About 11 years old. You get in there and you get some weed out of there, you're going to get beat like a damn slave. Because you went and stole some weed that your parent got you addicted to. You don't have to obey your parent in everything. Even your parent doesn't want you to do that. Huh? You think your mother wants you to have 5 baby daddies? That same mother with 5 baby daddies, when you bring a boy to the house, she's going to say, "You're fast ass. Stop having boys over here." Mom, who's my daddy? 3 niggas come over every week. You know, I ask all of them for money. One of y'all my daddy. Just all of you give me some money so we can just make sure. Your mother doesn't want you to be a hoe like her. The minute you start getting breasts, your mother's going to beat you. Your mother does not want you to be promiscuous like she is. So don't do everything your mother does. Don't do everything your father does. Clearly. So then what is this precept referring to? The time when your mother and father need mercy from you. Don't deny them that mercy because they smoked weed, because they were a hoe, because they were bad parents. Don't do that. I don't care what type of parent your mother was. You take care of her when she's old because of the kind of person you are. Don't now get revenge on your mother because she was a bad mother. Revenge on your father because he was a bad father. You brothers out there trying to choose a wife, you know, I'm pretty good at that. I don't know if you heard. Let me give you one thing I've always looked for that Commander General YAHANNA taught me. I've always looked for a woman that could be kind to a father who didn't deserve kindness. That is potentially a good wife. That's someone that's I think I have a video to play for you. Can I give you this video you done? I think I might have it. Let me show you what this precept is speaking about. I'm going to go to stand by, Yediah. I'll keep answering the questions. You can go up kind of late, I believe, right?
Go.
Stand by. Stand by. Oh, here we go, Yediah. Hold on, Yediah. Let me show you. This is a good video for this. Yediah, I'm going to send it to the water. Okay. This video will help illuminate this question about honoring your mother and father, all right? And it will help you brothers to see what the seed of what could be a good wife is, all right? Next question.
So this is from Mahayaman. Just like my Lord, if I may add, is it lawful for a woman to leave her husband after he commits adultery?
You mean like he sleeps with another man's woman? No. A woman is bound to her husband until he be dead, not until he be a sinner. He was a sinner from the first place. That's why you married him and didn't choose a brother in the school. How many sisters do I have to counsel? You come into the school, you can't wait because you're hot in your tail, and you cannot wait. So you go marry Joe Schmo on the internet. Then you become a judge of righteousness after you see that he's a sinner when you knew that already. No, you're going to have to stay with that sinner. That's your man. Please.
It's so funny how women in the world will automatically have standards and conditions after they have sex with someone, but what were the conditions prior to it?
Well, give her a hand because she's a wise woman. Ain't that something? Listen, you give me a woman Give me a woman after her backside is well oiled and well dealt with. She becomes a biblical scholar then. She lays in the bed with him like, woo, it's over. Listen, you don't obey the Bible. What about Leviticus 27 and 19? You don't do any of those. You are not obeying the commandments of God. You become you like the Pharisee after your tail is wet. If you could only do that before, if you could just become so, strict and, thinking about the law before you have sex, then that makes good sense. After it's done, however, that's the bed you chose to be in. Lie in it. You're not leaving your husband because he goes out and has sex with another man's wife. That's your sinful husband. What you might figure out later is that he's married to a sinner too. You understand? All right? Please.
I was going to say something so funny about that when they turn into a biblical scholar and tell them, me in the world, I'd have told you all this.
That's all. You caught me having sex with that whore. No, none. We all fall short of the glory of Jesus. Sister, you should wait. You got to learn to be lonely. Brothers, learn to be lonely. You can find a good woman. Learn to be lonely. You can find a good man. You have to learn the lessons that loneliness teaches. You can't rush out and try to end your suffering, because then you're going to get more suffering than you ever had. All right. Let me show you this real fast. Play this, please. This is to the brother's question about honor. How do you honor thy mother and father? Listen to this story. Go ahead.
And when he got out on his second year, he was 9 years old.
This woman is a boxer. You've seen her before? This sister is probably the most successful and famous female boxers today. All right? Go ahead and play.
And when he got out on his second date, I was 9 years old, and we were riding around in his car. I was probably about 10, 11 years old, and he was just frustrated. And he said, baby, I made a promise to y'all that I'll never go back to prison, that I won't sell drugs no more. But he said, I can't get a job. I don't know what else to do. And he said, if I would have stuck to what I was passionate about.
This girl had a father that was in jail her entire life. He would just come out periodically. Many of us have been through this. Well, you have a father where he's never around because he's in jail. Your mother, in many cases, talks about him in such a vile way. You always, don't have what you should have, and it's because your father is not around. Your father is always in and out of jail. Well, one time when she was 9 years old, her father was out of jail, and he drove around in a car with her, and he's, of course, talking to her about why he's always going to jail. And he begins to tell her, baby, I'm always in jail because no one will give me a job, which is what they don't tell you, meaning the minute you get a record, then no one will ever give you a job, which means you're going to get a record again. Your record is going to get longer and longer because society will never give you another chance. They'll never give you a job. Well, that was her father. And this is a talk she had with him on one of the rare occasions that he was home when she was 9 years old. Now play it from the beginning.
And when he got out on his second date, I was 9 years old, and we were riding around in his car. I was probably about 10, 11 years old, and he was just frustrated. And he said, baby, I made a promise to y'all that I'll never go back to prison, that I won't sell drugs no more. But he said, I can't get a job. I don't know what else to do. And he said, if I would have stuck to what I was passionate about, I would have never been in this situation. And I was a what, when, why, how kid. So I said, well, what were you passionate about? Because I wanted to know about my dad. Yeah. When I asked that question in my mind, before I asked it, it was like, I just want to do something for my dad. So I asked him, what were you passionate about? He said boxing. I decided whatever he said I was going to do. So when he said boxing, I was like, I'm a box to make my daddy happy. I'm boxing because I want him to live some of his life to me, because his life is just kind of bad. Like, he can't go back in time and be a boxer. So I'm going to be a boxer for him.
What's her name? Who knows? Carissa Shields. Give her a hand. Now, Carissa Shields is not my sister. She's not my daughter. She's not in the truth. But if you want to look at what the seed of what a woman could be later, a woman that could truly be sincere about being in the UPK, it's that. It's that she has a father that the world would never respect. The world would never honor. But she looks at him and she has pity on him. She doesn't hate him. This man said, I always wanted to be a boxer. She said, whatever he said, she was going to do. If he would have said doctor, lawyer, astronaut, she would have been that. He said doctor, she's doing it for him because he could never do it. And she's a woman. Can you imagine? Your father says boxer and you're a woman, which is like non-existent women boxers. They're virtually non-existent. But whatever he said, she was going to do because she didn't hate her father. Her eyes were soft for her father. She had compassion on a man that otherwise people would not have compassion on. That could be a very excellent wife, warrior. That could be a woman that actually could be one West. Compassion. Compassion is what you have to look for in a woman. Give it a hand. All right. That's how you take good care of your parents, because you have compassion on your parents. Compassion. All right. Anything else? Come on. Any other questions online? Go ahead.
Donald Khan, sir. This is from Shapara. She said, Slaki Alawad about May. What is the most practical way to deal with attention deficiency? Slaki, with attention deficient disorder.
Attention deficiency disorder, you have to go to a doctor. That's what you want to do. Let me tell you what I carry around here every day. Many of you asked me what's in this bag right here. That's what's in this bag. What's in this bag is work after work, book after book that I study and research about mental disorders, right? There's a ton of things, a ton of papers I have to read, all kinds of, this is one is on anger management right here. All right, anger management, mental health aid, right? These things I read and study and read. What are these papers on right here? Some of these things are excellent. These are treating 6 forms of anxiety disorder. This is my certification as a pastoral counselor. There's 1,000 different things, right, that you have to study. Why? Because mental illness is what the Bible used to call demons. And you want to study them and learn about them so you can attack them. Now, you don't have to do it, but some of you will just decide that you want to do it. Commanding General YAHANNA years ago gave me an order to do it. And so as in all things, I set about completing my orders with great zeal. And so I went to go do this, right? You want to start with a doctor. You want to start with recognizing that there are experts who study the thing that you are stricken with. They study it. It's in the Apocrypha. You want to first go get a diagnosis. You want to go talk to an expert about it. The same thing with autism. If you have a child with autism, man, you want to start getting services with that immediately. I'm talking 2 years old. You want to begin going to an expert who has studied this, who has learned about this, who can go to war with it. Think about it no different than a car that has a problem. My God, if I go get a brand new car off the lot, 2024 car, I don't need to be a mechanic. My car has no problems. That's it. I got a 2024 car. I get in it, turn the key on and drive. But if I have a car that has some issues, it's a little older, it has some problems, what do I need then, officers? Sacerdote, oficiales. I need a mechanic, right? Either I'm going to learn to be a mechanic or I got to go find a mechanic. One or the other. Why? Because my car needs some help. So is the same with a child. If you have a child that has some oppositional defiance disorder, attention deficit disorder, get them to a doctor. Get a physician and honor him for the things that he knows. You want to get your children that have these problems to a doctor. Now, that doctor will then teach you how to fix your own car, teach you some skills. So you now can go home and help your child at home, because a doctor will not be able, a doctor is not magic, but a doctor has skills and routines and curriculums that can help a child with these problems. Then you'll learn I'm fine, warrior. And you'll go home and you'll do those things. That's step one. If you have a child with these problems, get them to a doctor. If you don't know how to do that, the Israelite School of UPK can help you in that area. All right? Next. Próximo.
This is from Princess Azarwa. She said, Sloppy, sir, if a woman is on their flower and their husband sits in her seat and then proceeds to go to class, and the sister didn't tell the husband that he sat in the seat that she sin.
Did she sin because she didn't tell him? No, she didn't sin. And don't think of the unclean laws as sins. The unclean law has nothing to do with a sin when you get unclean. There is no sin in getting unclean. The sin is in exposing your uncleanness to other people. That's when you sin. There's no sin in getting COVID. You've done nothing wrong if you get COVID. How would you do something wrong once you have COVID? Don't come in here and spread it to all of us. If you get a COVID diagnosis, stay your sick ass in the house. Don't come into class. You think you helping us? Well, sir, I got COVID, but I love the Lord so much that I came to class anyway. You're not helping God by coming to class with COVID. Now you're going to kill all of our grandmothers, kill all the sick people around us. If you get COVID, you haven't sinned, but don't come to class with COVID. Everyone understands. Well, the unclean laws are the same. It's a quarantine. Your husband set on something that you bled all over. You didn't tell him, you forgot, whatever. He cannot come to class until the evening. He's unclean. Once he finds out about it, he stays away until he's unclean. It's not the law, but it wouldn't hurt to take a shower too. Go ahead and wash up. Why not? Why not go ahead and wash? I'm not John the Baptist or anything. I'll never be as good as him. But why not just go ahead and baptize your ass in that shower with some soap? Everybody understands. All right, next. Please.
What advice would you give a sister/brother if it's their first time keeping the Day of Atonement and how to handle it successfully?
That was a good question. Give her a hand. She brought that up. It slipped my mind. Well, the Day of Atonement, once again, is something you just have to do to be able to do it. The first thing you want to do with the Day of Atonement is realize this. You're not a slave who has no self-restraint or discipline. You can do this. You understand? You can do it. So many, I began to get the calls like, listen, I have to take a pill every day. If I take this pill, I gotta eat. I gotta drink. How am I going to do the Day of Atonement when I gotta? You'll be fine. You'll be okay. You're not going to die. It'll be okay. You take a high blood pressure pill. Now, because of that, you think you can't go through the Day of Atonement. You can. If you're not an elderly person or some sickly person, you can do the Day of Atonement. If you don't know whether you're sickly, call me. I'll tell you that you're not. And you're fine. You can do the Day of Atonement. Elderly people, someone that's in a serious jam cannot do the Day of Atonement. Most of you just are full of lust and you just don't want to do the Day of Atonement. That's all it is. But you'll be fine. You can go, how your people did not eat as much as you do now 30 years ago. 30 years ago, damn. I remember during the time of Robert F. Kennedy, what's that, in the 60s? He went through the Mississippi Delta in the South, and there were so many black people dying of starvation that he went and pressed forward the welfare bill and the civil rights bill to get black people food stamps, which is where food stamps come from. Because black people at that time were starving to death. Now you're dying from eating too much. You'll be all right. You'll be fine. Unless you're in some extreme situation, you can go 24 hours without food or water. Who should not do it? Children should not do it. Children don't need to fast. The parents fast for them. They're a child. So if you're a little kid or something like you don't fast. What age do you start fasting? It's a season. If I could give you a roundabout, 15 to 18 around there, depending on the child, that child is an adult. All right, that child can fast. Little babies like the ones back there, they do not fast. A little 5-year-old, they don't fast. Everybody understands. That's the first thing you better not do is make some child fast in here, because you're going to get me so angry, I'm going to lose my rank over it. Do not starve some baby in this school and then tell a judge that we told you to do it. We're telling you not to do it. Does everyone understand? Now, for those of you that are healthy, reasonably healthy, you can do it. What do you first have to remember? You have to commit to it. You got to make a commitment. Once the sun goes down, the fast is on. Now, what does that mean? When the sun goes down, don't think about, did I eat earlier? When did I eat? When did I drink? Forget that. That's irrelevant. That sun goes down, it's on. It's like game time. And if you can put yourself in that mind, like, if you're thinking about it 2 days before, some of you go and calorie pile up, but 2 days before, you go and eat a giant meal the day of atonement, you're just going to get more hungry. That's all that's going to do. If you go say, the Day of Atonement is at 7, let me eat a turkey right now with the stuffing and the cranberry sauce right now, anticipating hunger, you're going to be more hungry if you do that, because the Day of Atonement is not physical, it's spiritual. It's a place you go to in your mind. So if you don't want to pile in a ton of food right before sundown, be normal. Do nothing different on the Day of Atonement. Nothing. Do nothing different. Don't say, the Day of Atonement is in 4 hours. I better eat a giant meal so I'm not hungry. I better drink a gallon of Kool-Aid so I'm not hungry. You're going to be more hungry because you did it, because you're breaking your mental strength for food, for water. So what do? This Day of Atonement is Friday sundown. Is that right, you die? Friday during the day, a normal day. If you're hungry, eat. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Just be normal. Then when the sun gets down, it's on. Now you're committed to it, regardless of anything. Regardless of whether you're on medication, you're not on medication, it's on now. That's it. The sun went down. Now it's on. Now I'm taking this Day of Atonement. I'm doing it. What do? Sometimes what helps is cold water on your face. When it begins to get rough, sometimes you can get in the shower. I would not get in the shower. I haven't done this for years, but I remember in the beginning, I would go and cool off in the shower. I would try to cool off. I put cold water on my face, on my head, and just try to cool off. This is like years ago, back in the 90s. That began to help. It began to just, wake myself up, to give myself relief that was not food and water. You want to. The key is to get your mind off of it. Do something that just gets your mind off of it, where you're not thinking about it. Sometimes that means busying yourself, planning on doing something that will have your mind. You ever been at work and because you're working so hard, you forget to have lunch? That's perfect on the Day of Atonement, where it's like, damn, I've been working here so long, I forgot to eat lunch. Do that on the Day of Atonement. That helps, where you just busy yourself so much that you forget that you have not eaten. That can happen for some people. What you want to just do is commit to it, because you do it every year, you begin to grow the muscle to resist your desire. That muscle will carry you until the kingdom. The ability to be able to resist your own desire. Please.
Like what you saying is so heavy, because once you do it every year, you actually start running towards the Day of Atonement, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and sometimes you might do 2 days, 3 days. You can go there. Some brothers in here and sisters, they can go there. You begin to just learn how to train yourself to not do what you want. To not do what you want. Some of you will learn you have a mouth fetish on the Day of Atonement. You'll learn that really everything you do, cigarettes, smoking weed, them pipes, them hookahs, food, shrimp, everything you do is because You have a mouth. You have what Freud called a mouth fetish. That's what Sigmund Freud called it. He called it a stage of life. You have a mouth fetish and then an anal fetish, which means first everything is done to your mouth, then later on in life, everything is done through sex. Like the first part of your life is the bottle, the pacifier, the food, the drink, and later on it becomes my penis, my penis, my penis, my vagina, my vagina. It just switches. And you learn on the Day of Atonement, you gotta just be putting something in that stupid mouth of yours. Every 10 minutes, you'll learn. You learn that's where your cigarette addiction also comes from. And your weed addiction also comes from. You'll learn a lot about yourself. The key is to commit to it. Commit. And then you'll get something that is so rare and precious in life. You'll get to break the fast when the sun goes down, which is just outstanding. Last year, I remember, I forget, I was in North Carolina, was it 2 years ago? I broke the fast for the first time with a glass of Prosecco. Who knows what Prosecco is? Brother, I remember it. That's how excellent it was. It was like I was sitting there and I waited and I waited. Then I waited till the sun went deep down. Some of y'all, I know y'all waited. As soon as the sun go like this here, you start to drink. I waited till the thing got down here. I waited till an hour past it, 2 hours past it. And I went and ordered a glass of Prosecco. And brother, that Prosecco like went boom in my brain. It was like bang. I remember years, I would drink a glass of water at the Sabbath service during the Day of Atonement. We have some service, I forget what it was. And I'd come into class, so I can drink a glass of water that is stuck in my mind. That sip of water and how it was like, boom, that sip of water. That's priceless. It's worth the whole fast. To that taste of breaking the fast, when you know you did it, when you know you completed it, you know you thought you couldn't get through it, you know that roundabout, when does Satan start to affect you? I want to say is it after 12? What is the time when it's like 6 hours away? What is it, you die? Barzal?
It's nice. I was going to say, brothers start looking at their Facebook.
Oh, come on now. I don't know why you're doing that. Sister, go ahead.
I was going to say, we were talking about the taste of drinking something. I always start like drink my fast with water, and you can literally feel the water traveling down.
She's telling the truth. Listen, she's fasting. Because let me tell you, that water go like, it's like now you're in, the power is coming to you from this glass of water. Okay. It's a glass of water. Brother, don't cheat yourself of that. Don't cheat yourself of that. Experience what it feels like to not lose hope. To not lose hope. To finish it until the end. And then imagine how glorious it will be when this day of suffering is over. When this season of pain is at an end and our enemies are on fire. With that, pass the class over to Priest Officer with thumb up. My apologies.
I.S.U.P.K security announcements. With I.S.U.P.K starting going west on 25th Street, Harlem, New York, under command during honor. School for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves with the word. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, you can find this in Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. It means tenth in the Hebrew, I.S.U.P.K, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department. Priest fund, free will offer for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like. The next high holy day is the Day of Atonement. You know what I mean? And it's the 10th day of the 7th month, Friday the 11th, October, you know what I mean, 2024. You can find this in Leviticus, 23rd chapter, 27th verse, all the way up to the 32nd verse. All right? And remind Akim and Akwati to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black. Boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. What that meant, Israelite module. Just need to stand. Man, Israel, we're going to give each other a courtesy. Man, Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute. Man, Israel, Imam Shabbat. Imam Shabbat. Yahweh, Shemi, Al-Shah, Barakador. Not to be taught. So, Imam, sisters, we need to stand. We're going to give the sisters one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Imam Shabbat. Imam Barak. Yahweh Shamar Al-Fun, Shemi, Al-Shah. Top.